Wepa! Welcome to the show. I'm Joe. And today, my guest today, I think he could be the coolest cat on any campus. He just sent 4,700 graduates across the stage in one ceremony. And NAU 2026 commenced 3 weeks ago, right, boss?
That's right.
Yeah, a raucous event. There was confetti. It was just loud. The Sky Dome was a rock. Sir, Doc, you got swagger. I just want to say that right out of the gates. Welcome to the show, Dr. José Luis Cruz Rivera. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, the confetti, is it barely still off the floor?
It is. We're still reveling on that huge celebration that we had with our students and their families.
Yeah. Well, this is also a guy that raised 100 million in private investments since arriving in 2021, more than the previous 14 years combined. 14 years, folks. R1, Hispanic-Serving Institution, all at the same time. He's the maker of Happen, folks. Made tuition actually free for half of Arizona, right? And every member of all 22 federally recognized tribal nations. And back in November 2024, you sent a bunch of students to Macy's to do something.
That's right.
A little parade activity. How are you doing all of this?
Well, it's all about the people that you have and the trust they put in you, in your vision. We are privileged here at Northern Arizona University to have a community that is curious about change and biased towards advancing a mission that really centers students, which is something that many of us in higher ed say, but when it comes down to it, few institutions are able to bring it all together to actually drive in that direction.
Yeah, there are system presidents, and we know who they are. There are the people's presidents, and they're pretty special people. But there's a student president out there, and I think I'm looking at him right now. I want to start with what you did recently. You honored Tafini Jasef in your 2026 Arizona. She was the Arizona Teacher of the Year with an honorary doctorate 3 weeks ago. Where did that come from? What did you say?
Well, basically, the idea is at NAU that we honor excellence, and we honor excellence in towards the benefit of others and communities. And our Arizona Teacher of the Year is always a special honoree at commencement for NAU. Because they have a direct impact not only on the students, the individual students that they serve day in and day out, but those around them, those who have aspirations for that student, who nurture those students, and who see in that teacher a vehicle to advancing their loved one to their full potential. And so it's a very special profession. That's how NAU was born 127 years ago as a normal school to provide teachers for the state of Arizona. And we've made it a practice to honor those teachers with honorary doctorates.
How rich. How rich. I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. Trivia question. Somebody won Album of the Year in 2026. I'm not sure who that was. I need a little bit of help.
Sure. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, also
There
known
we
as
go. Yeah, debí tener más fotos.
That's
Yes.
right.
First Spanish language album ever to win Album of the Year.
Yes.
In Grammy history. And there's some history behind that. He performed at the Super Bowl halftime. How did you feel when he was? My wife and I, we were doing the best we could. My guess is you probably had next level.
Well, it's very special. The fact of the matter is that the sounds that are projected through platforms such as the Super Bowl halftime show are the sounds that I grew up with, right? They are new to the world and they have resonated with global audiences, but they are the sounds that I would hear in the streets, that I would hear in Christmas ceremonies and,
Wow.
and parties and so forth. And so Benito has been able to bring in the richness of the Puerto Rican culture and mash it up in a way that has resonated globally. And so it's a really prideful moment in many ways, but it's also deep in the sense that It tells you something about the potential of individuals,
Mm.
regardless of where they come from and or what they believe and or who they pray to or who they love. I mean, the potential is there, and so how you harness it and you unleash it is something that we all should be always on the lookout for. And for universities in particular, that's our calling. It's how do you broker talent with opportunity? I mean, that's at the end of the day the big challenge that we have.
It's really about not taking your roots for granted as well, and honoring and recognizing that point of origin where we all come from, right? And loving the potential that is that latent potential if it hasn't been lit up yet.
That's correct.
And then figuring out how to move that gift set into the world to be of best use. And that's your photo. That is your photo. I mean, from Puerto Rico, California, Florida, Honduras, New York, and then you're landing at what are you about 8,000 feet
That's
in
right.
Flagstaff right now?
7,000 feet. Yes.
7,000 feet. Okay. Okay. Talk to me about Macy's Parade. That was a couple of years ago, but first Arizona university ever to attend, I mean, to participate in that parade with musical instruments.
Right. Right. Well, it was just such a joy to see our marching band, first of all, selected to be one of the college and university bands represented at the Thanksgiving Days Macy's Parade.
Yeah.
But it was next level to see them actually opening the parade. So the night before, during rehearsals, we were uh, informed that NAU would be first out of the gate, and
Oh, you
so
didn't even know that before you got
we
there?
didn't even know that. And it was just fantastic to see our students, 270 strong, performing, and it brought so much joy to uh, our lumberjack alumni community and everybody in the state. And I use that experience as an example of how it is that NAU is at its top at the top of its game, right? So,
Mhm.
I when presidents brag about their universities, they usually talk about the metrics by which we have customarily been measured on. So it's graduation rates, retention rates. Are you on R1 university? How is your fundraising doing? Your job placements for your students are they getting good earnings? Check.
It's the same water that everybody's swimming in. So what differentiates you
Right.
beyond that and actually attracts a student, right, to your campus based upon that as a culture?
Exactly. And I can say that with a straight face here that in all of those metrics, we are at the historical high at NAU or trending in that direction. And the one thing that nobody ever asks about is your marching band. And I can also say that our marching band is at the top of its game, having reached the Super Bowl, if you will, of the play, the game they play.
Yeah, yeah, how fun, how fun. And I don't have sponsorships, but I saved a bag of this. I was on your campus a month or so ago and grabbed a bunch of these. Matador Coffee is there we go. There's the unpaid advertisement for
Thank you so
and
much for that.
jacked. How about that for the name of the coffee? Just jacked.
That's right. That's right. And it's a great partnership with a local community business. And it's Flagstaff is such a beautiful place for many reasons. But when you consider the fact that it's a 75,000 person city, and that 54% of the homes within the city limits have at least one lumberjack in them, either an alum, a student, an employee.
That's impact right there.
That's right. It's
People are staying.
the town and the gown are one of the same, right? And so it's just a fantastic place to be.
I got to ask you because I work with K-12 educators and higher ed leaders weekly, and many of them they're working in the place that they lead. But when did you stop being kind of in that place where you lead and start calling Flagstaff home? I can tell Flagstaff is home. NAU is home for you.
Well, actually, this is the one place where I've lived the longest in my life. I've moved around quite a bit, growing up and then professionally as well. In the last 15 years alone, I've been in Washington, D.C., in Southern California. I've been in New York City and now here in Flagstaff. This is the longest I've also ever had the same job title. And so I feel that the the experiences that have brought me here
Mm.
and the circumstances in which I am leading now and the community that is supporting and advancing the work, they have all come together in a way that has sort of defined what home is for me in terms of my career. And, just it has allowed me also to feel like my personal and professional lives are one.
They're interconnected. They are. Yep, you can tell that. There's a gravitas to that. It's just felt.
And it's special.
Yeah, period.
I'll be here until
It's
somebody
special.
decides I shouldn't be here anymore.
And there's a contradiction also that I can't get past. I mean, your seat, it's a privilege. There's a lot of pain recently that comes with just serving in the role of the presidency. And I don't want to unpack all of that because I want to have a good day today. But the contradiction, your PhD dissertation title, if I'm reading this carefully, I'm probably going to have to read it slowly, but optical interconnections for ultra compact, massively parallel processing systems. You're a smart dude. You're a patented inventor. And you walk into classrooms on a regular basis and teach digital logic circuits. Why is that still important to you?
Well, at the end of the day, the basic atomic unit of the idea of a university is a teacher and students
Amen.
in a room. That's the most
Full
basic
stop.
fundamental unit. Everything else grows from that, right? And so, the reason I went to grad school was so I could be a faculty member. And how I got into the administrative track is a whole other story.
Somebody's got a sense of humor.
Yeah. But it's always been at the center of what I want to do and what I like to do. And I had an opportunity to do it here at NAU after more than a decade out of the classroom. I enjoyed it immensely. The demands of the job have taken me out of the classroom for the last year and a half, but I hope to be back in it as soon as I can. It gives you a totally different perspective on the work as president. And also, actually, it's humbling and it helps you better understand the challenges of your faculty and staff.
Yeah,
I'll share just a quick anecdote real quickly.
please.
I was having, I got 5 kids. One of them is actually in college now, a junior, a sophomore, I'm sorry. And I said to him, look, as I went back into the classroom after a decade, there's a disconnect here, as I'm writing on the board. And he says, wait, what? You're writing on the board? Don't tell me it's in cursive. Right. So just a better understanding of the challenges our faculty have as they move from one generation of students to another, and they have to adjust not only the material necessarily, but their own pedagogical discourse. And so that first few weeks for me back in the classroom were very enlightening and actually helped me more in my job as president than I would have thought.
Mm. Yeah, that juxtaposition that I see, you've got the engineering brain running an equity mission when I think about it. Yeah. How does that wiring change how you see the institutional problems that a traditional administrator would approach maybe completely differently?
Well, intellectually speaking, what grabs me is the idea of a design space. What are the degrees of freedom you have, and what are the outcomes you want to achieve? So that's what an engineer does. And
Interesting.
so when I look at a university like NAU or CUNY or Cal State or University of Puerto Rico, wherever I've been, it's more about, okay, where is the university now? What are the aspirations? How are they measured? Right? What are the dynamics of the system? Right? The strategic context. And so, based on that, in the next 3 years, what do we do uh, to advance our mission and meet those desired outcomes? And it depends on where you are, what the politics are,
Right.
the challenges of the university are, what the culture of the faculty and the staff and the community, all of that factors in. And so I find it fascinating to just try to figure out.
Hey, friends, quick question before we get back to it. I know that you have talented people on your leadership team, but is your team actually performing to its full potential? Most aren't, and most don't know why. The Team Intelligence Assessment is a solution to change that. Find out where your team stands at higherperformancegroup.com. Go to find your starting point to get started today, or click the QR code in the screen right here. All right, back to the show.
What are the most fundamental, dynamics that define the design system, and then choose 5 things that we can advance. And what I found in my career is that if you focus on those 5 things and not get drowned out by the noise of the entire system, those things compound in a way that lead you to a much better place, a stronger place. And regardless of whether you stay or you leave, you have the satisfaction of having reached some irreversible progress that you can assign to that effort.
It is really staying intentional to your focus in the midst of the wind and the waves that happen to be out there. Walk me through this A to E, the access to excellence. There's the artifact that I would say you not only love your campus community, you love the entire state of Arizona.
Yeah. Well, so one of the main charges that the Arizona Board of Regents gave me when they hired me was they wanted to ensure that NAU was serving an access purpose or an access mission. In Arizona, we have 3 major public universities, and everybody knows the other 2: University of Arizona, a powerhouse; Arizona State University, a powerhouse, right? $1 billion in research expenditures, each of them, every year, and so on and so forth. So there was a need for NAU to be differentiated in its access mission. Now, what that meant, going to the sort of the design and the system design principles that I was just talking about, was meant looking at, okay, where are we today? Where are we headed? Where should we be headed? What are the constraints and what needs to be changed? And so access to excellence is really a portfolio of initiatives that we developed in order to meet that access mission, by tweaking and changing the policies and practices of the day to ensure that within that design space we were successful. So first thing we did was realize that our admission standards were exactly the same as ASU and U of A. And why is that? And so when we looked at those more closely, we realized that we were making our messaging, access messaging, more difficult by saying that you needed 16 core courses when you graduated from high school in order to be assured admission at NAU. And that was a problem because there were 50,000 students in high schools in Arizona, 20% of the high schools in Arizona, where those 16 courses are not offered. They only offered the 14 required by the state law to graduate from high school, right?
So you had the autonomy to do some flexing and rearranging.
Right. So working with the Board of Regents, we said, no, if you graduate from a high school in Arizona with the 14, right? And we looked at the GPAs and we said, we don't have to be at the same GPA level as U of A and ASU. We looked at our numbers. We figured that we could do a good job with students at the 2.5 level. So if you graduate from high school in Arizona with a 2.5 GPA, you're assured admission. And then we looked at the actual out-of-pocket expenses for our in-state students and figured that a better way of communicating to them that this was affordable, but was by saying, look, if you come from a household with an income under $65,000, which is the median in Arizona,
right.
You're guaranteed to come here tuition-free, or if you're a member of one of the 22 federally recognized tribes. So now we have a very, very straightforward access message, which is graduate from high school with a 2.5 and your assured admission, and here's what the financial aid looks like. And in fact, we've gone one step further because we work with our community colleges, and so now Arizona NAU sends 0 rejection letters to applicants. So if in this day and age, if you raise your hand and you say, I want to go to college, and you apply to NAU, we're not going to reject you. You either get admitted or you get automatic admission to one of our community colleges with a guaranteed promise of transferring to NAU when you're ready. So
what a beautiful system.
Yeah, so that's access to excellence from the perspective of admissions, and then we have similar other portfolios in the retention and graduation and career readiness perspectives.
I love it. I mean, for being as smart as you are, as kind as you are, as hip as you are, Washington Monthly called you the college president who kind of broke ranks. Bill Gates had some comments too back in 2023 that said something remarkable, said something really remarkable is happening in Flagstaff. It hasn't always been that way, though. I mean, not that you're standing on the shoulders of a lot of good people that have done a lot of good things, but what actually moved at NAU that wasn't moving before you arrived? Why were things stuck like they were?
No, I would say that, I'm the 17th president. And as I look at the history of this institution, each president dealt the cards they were handed as best they could, right? So now, and I'm going to step out of NAU for a minute because this applies in higher ed in general.
There we
Many
go.
presidents are looking at, oh my God, I have all of this deferred maintenance in my buildings. I have more built out space than I need, right? Because enrollments are going down. I have all of this debt service that I need to take care of. And in a way, it's sort of portrayed as bad decisions made in the past, but that's not necessarily the case. If you go back, 20 years to the
You
Great
need to live
Recession,
in the present, need to
right?
maybe be less frustrated and more curious about what was going on at that
And
time.
and you really think about what do you want to hand off, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're going to be the average lifespan of a president these days is about 5 years. In 5 years, what will I hand off to my successor?
Yeah, let's go there. Let's just say in 2031, 2032, the idea that access and excellence are a trade-off has either been proven, right or wrong. What you built here, right? The federal landscape, you can't really put a bet on it, right? It's going to do what it's going to do. Where is NAU in let's just say 2032? And what has to be true for that to still be leading, not just surviving?
Well, I think in 2032 we will be a smaller, more impactful NAU, an NAU that is more of the region, that is organized around the region's needs, that measures its success on as it relates to the region's success. So,
Mm.
is housing affordability getting better? Is health access to healthcare getting better?
No joke.
Water quality or wildfire management? I mean, those are the issues of our region, right, and many other regions across the country. It will be an NAU that's anti-fragile, that can sustain shocks and become
Love
stronger. And to get there, we have some very difficult decisions to make in the next 3 years because that design space is very different, and the degrees of freedom that we have are not enough to get us there. And so we can either continue to try to manage the margins every year, try to
Mhm, mhm.
cut here, cut there, and maintain our way of doing things, or we have to fundamentally change what it means to be a regional public university in the next 3 years to be able to get on that trajectory towards 2032.
I love that. Resiliency isn't enough today. It's anti-fragile. We're just gonna get punched in the face, and we're going to be stronger because of it.
Yes.
Yes. So what you're building here, is it a national model, or is Flagstaff a little too specific here to export?
I think what we're building and what we're shooting for in the next 5 to 7 years will be a new model of a regional public university. So RPUs across the country, we have all drifted in different ways, but mostly towards the R1 model, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so we have to go back to our roots. And so the way we're talking about it at NAU is a refounding. We have to. It's the world's oldest startup. We're 127 years old.
I love that
We
mindset.
we have to think about, if we were to design NAU today with the assets we have and the conditions in which we operate, what would that university look like? And it's a question that most universities can ask of themselves, and they will all reach the same conclusion. It would look nothing like we do right now. And so that's the trajectory we're embarking on. What is the NAU we want to design so that it will be anti-fragile? And while it will be very regional in focus, it will be global in outlook.
Mhm.
And so if we can figure out how to solve some of these issues, not just for higher ed, but for the regions that and communities
And the world as well. You've got this environmental focus, and all the world, I think, is looking at Flagstaff saying, how do we control?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's our being very focused on the region is really an opportunity to shine on the global stage, which brings me back to Bad Bunny and his residency in Puerto Rico. He decided to stay home in Puerto Rico for his big Debí tirar más fotos
Yes.
tour.
Yes.
And the world came to Puerto Rico
Mm.
to see him. And the island benefited enormously economically from that. And that was a decision that he made to remain local.
Yes. It's not a metaphor, it's a lifestyle.
Right,
It
for
is a
the benefit of the
lifestyle that you
region.
create.
Yep.
So good. I wish we had more time. I'm taking so much from this, but we're going to do a real quick fire, okay? And then got to get you back to doing your world-changing stuff. And he is a world changer, but we're going to see how human this guy really, really is. So, lightning round. What's a quote that you live by?
Recent lyric from Benito. Por la mañana café, por la tarde ron. In the morning coffee and in the afternoon rum. It's all about balancing the hard work with the leisure in your life.
There also a mindset and a heart set. How about the worst advice you've ever heard in leading people?
Just do it.
Just
do
okay. Sorry, Phil Knight.
Yeah.
How about the best advice?
The best advice is the flip of that, which is engage. Engage with the people before you and actually lead them to that point where you want the university to go, rather than just doing it.
Old system meeting the new economy of leadership. Unpopular opinion that you are very eager to defend.
The dichotomy between access and excellence. I think we have shown here at NAU, we not only improved all of our access metrics, but also our retention and graduation rates are at historic highs. Our students are in the higher earnings category of Carnegie, and we're on R1.
The math doesn't add up. It just does not add up. But setting that standard does. Setting something you've changed your mind about lately.
The balance between the use of technology in pedagogy, AI in particular.
Yep, say no more. One decision that you'd make 10 times over again.
Rima Brusi, marrying my wife.
Beautiful. What's your go-to jam late Friday afternoon?
I've been on a Bad Bunny trip for quite a while, but it's usually when it's not, it's 80s rock.
What's your 80s band?
Duran Duran.
Why not?
I know, right?
Hungry Like a Wolf, maybe? I don't know. Without revealing too much, okay? Your favorite tattoo?
I would say my favorite tattoo is the Taino sun. So it's a petroglyph of the Puerto Rican sun by our indigenous people, the Taino Indians.
My guess is you have people asking about that every day. Every day. If you're not running the institution, what are you doing?
I'm spending time with family or watching bad TV.
What's a word or a phrase for NAU's future?
Antifragile.
There it comes again. I think Dr. Cruz Rivera, the lesson, and for everybody, we're coming in for a landing right now. And another whipa. This has been good. I mean, just solid. Sometimes these are more entertaining than solid. Today was solid. I think American higher education has been telling itself for 50 years that opening the door wider, it lowers the quality of what is inside. And you just threw a boomerang to that access and excellence are a trade-off. And it's not the case. The students who need the institution most deserve the least of its investment. That's not the case. You just spent the last 26 minutes just proving everyone that those beliefs are wrong. So if you're a university president, if you're a chancellor, aspiring to be a leader that leads systems like this, I think the question isn't whether your students deserve this. We all just say that empirically. The question is what belief about your students have you been using to explain why you have not done the job yet? You just spoke to that. So thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We've had some big dogs, but you are the dog.
Oh,
the dog.
I'm going to have to share this with my kids.
There you go. There you go. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Take care. Peace.